Welcome back to the Spotlight, where we highlight veteran voices. Today, we have a very special guest, an advocate in the community for veterans and veterans with disabilities, Dr. Carl Forkner, Adjutant Vice Commander at the Phoenix DAV. Uh, and before we get into that, I'd like to give a shout out to Black Rifle Coffee Company for supporting us here on the podcast here in Phoenix, and highlight what they've done for Memorial Day with the Home of Record Project. They did a 5K run, which celebrated or honored our fallen sailors, soldiers, airmen. So thank you, Black Rifle and Home of Record Project, for bringing that to their survivors of all that we have lost. And I would also like to share that we are going to keep the same hours here at the Resource Center and Wellness Lounge. We are open 8 to 4 Monday through Friday, both suites. And we are also a cooling center for Maricopa County Heat Relief Network. So if you're in the area and you need some cooling off, we have a plethora of water and cooling. Come hang out in the Defender's Den, grab a drink, and have a conversation so we can talk. Also in the Resource Center, Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, we have Arizona at Work, Goodwill Career Center, and Veteran Service Officers, all at your disposal, free of charge. Come on down and let's get everything that you need going so we can help you move on to the next chapter. Also, if you go to arizonaveterans.com, you can find all events in the veteran community, one-stop shop, find out everything that's going on, what we're up to, what our partners are up to, and where you can show your support or find services that you need. This Friday, we have military medicine, music military medicine with Gold Star mom Goldie Murphy here in the Defender's Den. If you want to learn how to play ukulele or guitar, come check us out. And we have the East Valley Women Veterans Brunch every third Saturday. This Monday, we're doing screen printing. We're going to get our logo heat pressed onto our t-shirts. So if you're a woman, you're a veteran, and you want to be a part of us, reach out to eastvalleywomenveterans.org and talk to our lively volunteer here, Nanette Mullen, Army veteran. Also, TAPS, Tragedy Assistance Program, is last Saturday of the month here in the lounge as well. And Ro Gonzalez was our guest last week. He's having a golf tournament for Valor Veterans tomorrow. You can check out his newsletter at vvcas.org. And the Soldier's Best Friend, we also highlighted a few weeks ago. They're holding their graduation ceremony here on the 7th at 1000. If you'd like to be a part of that, all of the information is on our website, as well as the flyer from last week. And another organizations we've partnered with is Global Waters Maternal Health with Kaimisha Guy, Navy veteran. We'll be doing facials, haircuts, and having some Vietnam veterans in here discussing the 50-year anniversary of the Vietnam War. And then we are hosting a Jeep Run Fundraiser October 18th. If you want to know more about that, please inquire within. We need help getting everything together for the fundraiser, so please reach out to us at info@azuravets.org. And Women Veterans Day is on the 12th. Don't forget about us. And I'd like to introduce the good doctor here. Dr. Carl Forkner, thank you for coming down to the Defender's Den, the Azura Veterans Coalition, and we'd like to thank you very much for honoring us at the Change of Command ceremony. That was quite the pleasure, actually, to see how you guys roll out all of your new service officers and yourself, change of command to your new commander, and you and your new position down at the DAV. So welcome to the Spotlight.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm glad you asked me.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for reaching out. Well, tell us a little bit about who you are, what service you were in.
I'm also Navy. Spent 3 decades and 5 presidencies in the Navy, starting with Reagan. And I started out as a naval flight officer. Think Goose, not Maverick. And then I became a surface warfare officer also, and found that I enjoyed driving ships and being ship's company more than I enjoyed flying off the carrier.
Oh, right.
But I had a great career flying off aircraft carriers, and I was on 12 of them. It was like getting paid to go to Disneyland.
I love that. That's so cool. So you were SWO?
Yes.
Right on. Yeah.
Yep.
And a helmsman. Okay, that's what I did, Master Helmsman. It was amazing.
Outstanding. Yeah, I'd be the CDO underway up on the bridge.
Cool. Yep, my favorite people. All right. So you did that for 30 years nearly.
Yep.
And then what happened after that?
Then after that, I finished up my career as an assistant professor in international security studies at the Air War College at Maxwell Air Force Base, Alabama. Retired from there in 2011. Spent the next 2 years finishing my first PhD, and then went to work for Dynamic Worldwide Training in Tempe as their chief operating officer and director of training, working with trainers that provided everything from basic to expert level IT and software training. In 2015, I joined Chapter 8 here, DAV, and so I've been with them for 10 years now. And the last 8 of those, I've been a service officer. And I spent 4 years from 2018 to 2022 as the adjutant for the chapter. And 2022, I took over as the commander, which I just relinquished on the 10th of May. Next month, on the 29th of June, I will become the adjutant and chief executive officer for DAV in the state of Arizona.
Carl, one hell of a resume. Okay. What did you do as a commander of the DAV? What was your
As
primary?
commander of DAV, well, the adjutant is the CEO. So he's running the everyday, day-to-day stuff. As the commander, you're like the president. You're looking outside the building, making connections with other organizations in the area, and helping promote the mission of DAV. And the mission of DAV is to empower veterans, their families, and their survivors to live high-quality lives with respect and dignity.
And you did an outstanding job. Outstanding.
Thank you.
We served a lot of people together.
Yes, we have.
Working alongside each other.
And that's one of the main parts of your position over here, and my position as a commander at DAV is to coordinate and collaborate to make sure that our veterans are able to access the right resources for what they need in their lives.
Yes. Holding them accountable, having them show up with their goals in mind, making sure they're squared, and we're not just giving them handouts.
Right.
We're showing them how to build capacity.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And Chad, there's chapter 20 on the east side, right? Or the west side.
Chapter 20 is in Glendale. That's one of our largest chapters. Chapter 1 is in Phoenix. Chapter 24 is up in Surprise. Chapter 16 is up in Prescott. Chapter 38 is in Sahuarita, Green Valley. Chapter 39 is in Valley del Oro, just north of Tucson. Chapter 14 is down in Sierra Vista. Chapter 11 is in Yuma. And then Chapter 18, Chapter 28, and Chapter 4 are all in different places in Tucson. And then Chapter 26 is in Benson.
So you have the state covered.
We have the state covered.
So if you need DAV assistance, there is one close by you. Wonderful. But you guys all go off the same mission. You offer the same resources.
Absolutely.
So you have VSOs in there, volunteers.
Yes, absolutely. We have, at Chapter 8 here in Mesa, we have 10 veteran service officers here in Mesa and 4 in Payson.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. And what are the numbers like? How many people do you get?
We are serving, on average, between 325 and 350 veterans a month.
A month?
Yes.
Wow.
And we figure that on an annual basis, we're injecting anywhere from $4 to $5 million back into the local economy through the benefits that we get our veterans, who then go out and use those benefits for the things that they need.
Yes, absolutely. So you're funded federally.
We don't receive a penny of government funding. We run completely on donations.
I did not know that.
Yes.
Okay. And where do most of your donations come from?
Most of our donations we get from our members, from local community organizations like churches, Black Rifle Coffee,
Yeah. All right.
is one of our partners as well. Um, but we also have fundraisers that we run each year. Our big one is December 6th, our golf tournament.
Mm-hmm.
And that accounts for about 25% of our budget.
It's a nice turnout.
Yeah.
For a golf tourney. I know Row and a couple other groups are doing it, and I got to get on board with that. First, I got to get my swing down. All right. So what you're doing now, you're doing some research. So outside of your role with the DAV,
Yes.
you also have your own consulting group?
Yes, and working on finishing up my second PhD in psychology. And I'm working on a project right now examining the prevalence of moral injury among veterans who have been diagnosed with PTSD.
Okay.
Because moral injury and PTSD, although similar, are very different. And the treatment programs that are in place for PTSD don't all work for moral injury because they have beyond just a physical and psychological component to them. Moral injury also plays on how you grew up, where you grew up, what moral standards drive your moral compass, whether it's religion, whether it's neighborhood, whatever it may be. And that makes it unique to each and individual veteran.
Yes. That deciphering the two there, that there's a lot to unpack for
Yes.
the individual. So how are you going to help them do that? What does it look like?
What I'm aiming to do with my study is to develop ways to help the VA be better able to address moral injury through a collaborative and cooperative program. There are some other VAs in the country that have brought together chaplains and psychologists to work together in addressing the impact of moral injury. That's something that has only happened here in the Kingman, Arizona clinic, where the VA has assigned a chaplain specifically to work with psychologists to look at how we can better treat moral injury.
I've been a part of a little cohort at smaller VAs where they'd bring a chaplain in and he'd do like a 6-week series on moral injury and recovering from that. Extremely informative. And it does help you find a purpose higher than yourself, to get out of yourself, to see what's greater than you out there, so you can find a better foothold on, changing our morals and our beliefs that stem from childhood, right? Our belief systems that stem from there, but to stand in your own right now. You're like, this is what happened to me. This is what I've come to believe. This is what's no longer serving me, and develop on our own outside of the family system and outside of the military system. So becoming one with the self, right?
Yes.
So we help people traverse that.
And one of the big differences, and you touched on it, between moral injury and PTSD is moral injury evolves over time because you as a human being evolve over time. So it's a moving target.
Absolutely. Yeah. And having the person understand that it's okay to change their beliefs. It's okay to go against what they were raised to believe.
Right.
Or what they were indoctrinated to believe. So, and that's painful. I mean, it's psychologically painful. It's physically painful, especially when you're going out amongst your peers. Yeah.
And
trying to fit in.
That touches on the self-awareness question of who am I?
Yes. I always talked about that the existentialism that, bereaves us all.
Yes.
But I mean, it's the age-old question I think we all struggle with. But how to not let it stand in the way of what we're striving to achieve as the individual. What do I most want in life, and what are my barriers, and how do I overcome them? And know that it's okay that my path looks different than others. And it's okay to stand alone sometimes, knowing that you're not alone, but it's okay to stand in your own.
Absolutely. And you have to remember as a human that you're going to have emotions that go up and they're going to go down. And it's okay to not be okay. There should be no feeling of stigma with not being okay. And that's something that we all fight for our veterans as well as for ourselves is to try to remove the stigma of depression, anxiety, PTSD, moral injury, the effects that it has on our lives.
And our families' lives.
Yes.
Because we can inflict that unknowingly. We don't understand ourselves. Like, we don't have that self-awareness.
It affects your entire microcosm.
Yes, it does. Absolutely. We are one entire being. Like, our stomach, the bugs in our stomach, like 80% of our bacteria make up the serotonin and neurotransmitters and what have you. And I've been dealing with a little stomach bug recently, and I could completely notice the shift in my mindset, having that being thrown off. So just educating people on diet alone and how that affects the brain. It's just like moral injury. Let's educate them on that and how it affects the rest of their life.
Absolutely.
It's a medicine, right? So you're offering that up. So what's going on with the survey thing that you're doing here?
If people would like to participate, they can go to drcarlforkner.com and click on the tab that says the study. And it's totally anonymous. Okay. And it takes 10 to 15 minutes to do. And it uses the MIOS and the PCL5 instruments to measure moral injury impact and PTSD impact.
Yes. So like the PCL is something that you take when you go meet a provider.
Yes.
It's a questionnaire, a small questionnaire. Like, in the past 2 weeks, how often have you felt on a scale?
Yes.
1 to 5 or so. Great. Well, that's good. That kind of gives somebody a little bit of a guideline for their own self. They're like, I haven't been asked these questions, and how do I feel about that? Drop down into the felt sense of the body and see what's coming up for them. Maybe it'll trigger something.
Yeah, it's a great tool to stimulate introspection.
That's exactly what it is. Proprioception, introspection. Huge. Words I didn't know until I started studying PTSD and the frameworks of it all. So what else would you like to discuss today? Because I know there's a lot more. Your website, by the way, is phenomenal. It's very user-friendly. I love all of the links. It's so bold. It was really easy to navigate.
Thank you. I was trying to make it easy for people
and it
to
has
use.
so many resources. All the links are directly locked in there. So very user-friendly if you want to find anything out. Everything's on Dr. Carl's website.
But, our two most at-risk veteran populations for suicide, number 2 is our Vietnam veterans,
Yes.
primarily due to the challenges that stem from when they came back, the challenges of Agent Orange, and the challenges of isolation as they grow older.
Yes.
The first most at-risk population is our post 9/11 veterans. They went into the military. They served their country in a vertical environment organizationally. And then whether it was a 4-year enlistment or a 20-year career, they leave the military and they come out into a civilian world where instead of regulations being enforced, regulations are advisory in nature. And it's a horizontal collaborative organizational structure instead of a clear-cut vertical structure. And it makes it difficult to transition between the two because there's more unknowns in that horizontal structure. And when somebody transitions out of the military, they basically lose 5 things. They lose their job. They lose their friends. Most of them lose their housing. They lose their mission. And some of them lose their purpose. And when you lose your purpose, that is where things become dangerous. Because without a purpose, you start asking, why am I here? Why am I important? And so one of the things that can help with that are the veterans organizations we have. Places like the Defender's Den here are outstanding because it is a relatively unstructured, friendly, inviting place that is a non-threat environment to veterans. And we have many veterans organizations that provide support for veterans. DAV is a veterans organization that is predominantly service-based, which means except for 4 of our organizations here in the state, we don't have a bar and grill. We don't have bingo night or anything like that. We are purely a service organization here in Mesa. But there are other organizations that support veterans and veteran well-being that provide more of a social context. For instance, the American Legion, Post 26, where I'm a member here in Mesa, and Post 1760 of the VSW when I'm here in Mesa as well. They have bars and grills. They have opportunities to come in, relax, play games, participate in things that are social. And they do not anymore at the post level provide the services we provide with VSOs at DAV. So there's become over the last 6 months a split in that population where there's a definite difference between the social and the service organization.
Yeah. It's great that they do host stand-downs there
Yes.
to allow the VA to come in and service officers to come in and groups like you and I to come in there and showcase our services. So I didn't know that they were offering VSO stuff
They used to.
before.
VFW just quit a couple of months ago at the post level. They do it at the next level up, which is their district level, where they still have VSOs, but they no longer do it at the individual posts.
Okay. Well, they're phenomenal. The American Legion does a lot of welcome home packages. Once we get the veteran housed, then we get them their essentials filled in. The VFW's been amazing. Their auxiliary groups are awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So we always have everything that we need provided from them. So huge supporters. But there is a difference between social and service. So I like to say that we can do both of those here, and that's kind of cool that we have a little niche here, as well as trying to do more women-facing programs too.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like you said, our vulnerable populations out there are 65 and up, Vietnam vets, 9/11 vets, and then also female veterans.
Female veterans are a very vulnerable population, and it's because women veterans have been empowered over the last few years to come forward and admit that they had things that went on while they were in the service that adversely affected them. And that's relatively new because for years, things were kept hush-hush. They were all covered up, and it just wasn't talked about. And now we can have an open conversation, and we can help our women veterans heal from the things that affected them.
Thank you. I like to believe that we are getting there.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And to know that the stigma is breaking down. So we're waiting for people to join in on the chat, join in on the conversations. If you have questions or comments for Dr. Carl or I, please join the conversation or leave a comment below and ask a question, and we'll get back to you as soon as possible. Because these are really extreme matters that we're discussing right now, veteran suicide. And getting people to come out of it's the stigma that prevents people from coming in and asking for help. Am I going to be heard? Am I going to be believed? And is there someone there that's soft enough, kind enough, has trauma-informed care to receive me? And are they going to allow me to have that space? Like you said, is it safe to come in here? So we're trying to show you this space now so that you can see it is safe, and we're inviting people in here who have the same beliefs and mission as us. Because we all deserve to be heard.
Absolutely. I had a woman veteran about a year and a half ago that started coming into DAV as sort of a therapeutic thing to be around other veterans because she missed being around other veterans. And at one point we sat down and she recounted sexual harassment that had happened to her. And I took that and I took action on it. And she looked at me and she said, I can't believe it. A man believes me. And that kind of threw me for a loop.
I was going to say, how'd that make you feel?
Because as a commander in the military, as a senior officer in the military, I never once gave a thought to this person just came to tell me a lie. You're innocent until proven guilty. You're telling me the truth until something tells me that you're not. And it takes courage to come forward with the truth. I had a young sailor who, her division officer wanted to push her out of the Navy. And I researched what her challenges were, gave her time during one of our underway periods to go back home to her mother's home, settle her kids in with her mom, and then come back. This same sailor that was on the verge of having her division officer kick her out of the Navy ended up getting both her enlisted aviation warfare specialist pin, her enlisted surface warfare specialist pin, and was Sailor of the Quarter, all within an 18-month period. So there's untapped potential in everybody, and we have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. We should be listening more than we're talking.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, we don't know what we don't know.
Right.
So, well, I'm happy for that woman.
Mm-hmm. And she ended up getting a great set of orders afterwards and retiring after 20 years.
Awesome. That makes me really happy that she was able to stay in and stuck to her guns and found her ground and continued to excel and succeed. I was speaking with another woman earlier today. I would hope to get her on the show, and she was wanting to share her story, discuss, how she traversed a similar situation and developed into becoming a successful businesswoman that she is today. And that's why I kind of want to highlight is those female mentors are important to sailors like myself, who, unlike this woman, did not continue their service, but I was still getting all the qualifications. I had both my warfare devices, and I wish I could have stayed in, but my division officer and my chain of command was not as, adaptive as I had hoped for. But now I've, prevailed. So here we are today discussing this, allowing other people to come in and say it's not over. We can climb the ranks in a different forum, right? So there's still more work left to do and more people to inspire by choosing not to give up, by continuing. I've had to change a lot of things about myself to evolve in a new space, in a new time. And it's hard. It's really, really hard. But I've gotten to know you, and I've gotten to trust, military men again, and know that they're not all one and the same. And same with women. Women can be just as heavily going against the system. So I think the more conversations we have like this, the more open we are, the more collaborative we can become.
I think you hit a very important point there, and that is that despite getting out of the Navy, you've continued to serve, just in a different way. You've continued to lead, just in a different way. And that's therapeutic in itself.
Yeah.
Giving back to others.
Yeah. It is service above self, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I really love that slogan or motto, what have you, because it does take me out of self and helps me find like-minded individuals and sharing our stories, building each other up instead of keeping each other stuck in the past, like we were talking to Driscoll about with Soldier's Best Friend. People who peaked in high school or peaked in college, and then they relive that tale over and over again. Well, I'm tired of living back there, and I want to know what's coming forward. It's scary, uncertain, but we must endure through the uncertainty. There is something better on the other side.
Yep, you've made it through today. You can make it through tomorrow.
Yeah, and we've survived 100% of our worst days. And
yeah,
all that. Yeah. So I'm learning to have fun too. So I've been trying to relax here. What do you do for fun?
What do I do for fun? Um, I read. I like to look at historical things.
Your speech at the Change of Command was amazing. You went from like the 1800s all the way up to now, every conflict, and celebrated every era. That was very cool. Was that something you had already known? Did you like through your historical?
Yeah, I was a history major for my
Okay.
bachelor's degree, so
Okay.
I've always had a love of history. Uh, my grandfather was a soldier in World War One. My dad and one of my uncles, no, two of my uncles were in the Army, Air Corps, and the Army in World War II. One of my uncles was in the Navy in World War II. So I've always had this familial interest in the conflicts that our nation has gone through.
Mm. Yeah, it was, and the way you told it, you told it was like you knew, like it was almost like you were there for a lot of that because your family served through most of the conflicts. Very cool. The change of command was just awesome. It was nice to be a part of that. So, what do you think is missing from the veteran support community?
Um, one of the things that can be so powerful in supporting veterans that I don't think, whether it's because of time or because of not knowing how to approach it, is making connections with the community. You know, we've heard for years it takes a community to raise a child.
Mm-hmm.
It takes a village to raise a child.
Yeah.
Well, the community has a lot to offer to help veterans fit in better and feel better, whether it is religious organizations or churches, whether it's other fraternal organizations. We have a relationship at Chapter 8 with the Stuff Thrift Store and Resurrection Street Ministry, where we can send veterans over to them that are in need of specific assistance, and they will help them, and it doesn't cost the veteran a penny. But, you know, they finally get the opportunity to have a place to live, have something, a roof over their heads, but all they have is a floor, ceiling, and four walls. They'll help them furnish their first set of furniture for that apartment and have sheets and linens and things to cook with and start a new life. You know, put that semicolon there. Here's the old life over here. Here's the new life.
Yeah. I love that. Stuff has been really cool. We have the cards, so if the veteran comes in, we can give them a card and they can go shopping for free. And we also have a storage unit full from an estate sale. Me and a bunch of volunteers got to pick up a lot of really nice antique, old, like hardwood made, old school type made furniture. So if you're in need of that, we have a host of that. If you for working with groups like that, obviously, and other housing coalitions that are getting people housed, helping them through the transitional period. It's tough because there's such a high demand for it. And yet there are still people homeless on the street. I don't know, for whatever reason they choose to be there.
Well, sometimes people choose to be homeless because it's, to them, in their minds, in their situation, it's freedom, because they don't want to live under the rules that they would have to live under to be in a shelter or some other transitional housing type of situation. And that's unfortunate. But we have other groups too, like Veterans Affinity and Rick Kryberg,
Right.
that they cater primarily to senior veterans and hospice care veterans. We do as well cater to homebound veterans, where we'll actually go into their home and help them get their VA entitlements when they are either transportation challenged or homebound or bedridden.
And get their spouses lined up for the benefits.
For aid and attendance,
Yeah.
for caregiver benefits,
Yes.
to get a social worker from the VA into the home. Yeah.
Yeah, it's you have to be. Rick Kreiber does a really good job at, he could walk right up to the director of the VA and tell him how it is and say this is a disservice and unacceptable, and makes things happen and honors them, gets a family together, because we have a lot of spouses that come in here and their veteran had passed and they're like, I don't have any benefits, I don't know what I'm supposed to do now. So he helps get them all lined up with that.
Yep. And we can help survivors of veterans to get all the benefits that they're entitled to as a result of the veteran service. We also have a good working relationship with the VA. I know Brian Matthews, the director, personally. Elijah Ditter, who is the current acting director, Michael, and so forth. We have a volunteer transportation network that runs out of all three of the VAs that provides transportation to and from appointments for ambulatory VA patients.
Yeah, I see the DAV vans out there a lot.
Yep, and we will be shortly opening service that is going to provide transportation between the clinics and the main VA building as well.
Like 32nd Street?
32nd Street, Southeast Clinic, Northwest Clinic.
Okay. Southeast is Gilbert?
Gilbert.
Where's the other one at?
It's up near Peoria.
Oh, okay. I haven't been over there yet. Well, how do they get the transportation? Is there a wait? Do they use their hotline?
Well, they call into the VA and ask for transportation. They get transferred down to the office, and they need to give at least 3 days heads up before they have their appointment.
Okay.
And then they'll get scheduled for a driver to pick them up at their home and bring them into the VA. And then after their appointment is over, there'll be an afternoon run that takes them back home.
Awesome. Cool. Very cool. Did you know that? Kind of did? Okay. Stuff Thrift, they also have a
Stuff
service.
Thrift
I know
has-
she's really booked out, though.
Stuff Thrift has the ability to provide veterans with transportation, but it's only a couple drivers, and they get booked pretty heavily. So
I think transportation is one of the biggest things that is missing in the veteran support community, because even today, every single day, someone's asking for a gas card, bus passes, or other transportation assistance to and from appointments, or just go to Walmart or get their essentials. There are a couple networks that are happening, but they're booked, and we could use more, definitely use more. And there are small grants at the Arizona Department of Veteran Services. I've received a few of their smaller grants, and I use it all for gas cards and transportation.
Yep.
But it's a never-ending funnel. So that, I think we could use more support there, especially since the state is so large and the amount of veterans is so high. I don't know. What do you think?
absolutely. We have over 640,000 veterans in the state of Arizona, and over 110,000 of them are here in the Phoenix area.
Yes. That's
Very high density.
yeah, we have a call to action here.
Yep.
Let's get it done.
And we have veterans and veterans survivors that are literally hanging on by their fingernails with their Social Security and what benefits they're able to get.
Yeah, so an Uber would take them out.
Yeah.
That's too much.
Uber is out of the question because that's, that may be their week's groceries.
Yep.
And so that's one of the things that we do as well, is help veterans who, as we get older, we have things that get worse. Our hearing gets worse, or our eyesight gets worse, or the effects of Agent Orange get worse, Parkinson's gets worse, things like that. And we will help veterans to get enhanced benefits because they have more need now. And that helps to soften the blow as they progress in age.
I like that. Enhanced benefits as they age. I didn't know that either.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, Carl, we have discussed a lot. Like I said, his website is phenomenal. So if you need more information, you can go there. And I got to ask, what was your favorite thing about serving in the military?
My favorite thing about
like the
serving.
funnest story. Give me a cool thing.
The funnest. I'll give you two stories.
Okay.
The most rewarding thing about being in the Navy for me as a leader was seeing my sailors, my airmen, my Marines, and my soldiers evolve, grow, and get promoted. And when I was an aircraft maintenance officer and had 330 people working for me as a department head, I had promotion rates 30% above Navy standards and retention rates 25% above Navy standards. And that made me feel good because that meant that I was giving all of my people the tools they needed to succeed, but because they succeed, the Navy succeeds.
Yes.
And I would say my number one memory is October 7th, 2001 at 6:13 in the evening, standing on the deck of my carrier, USS Carl Vinson, with the other senior officers, watching the destroyers and the cruisers launch the first wave of Tomahawk missiles into Afghanistan as our response to the attacks on 9/11.
How did that make you feel?
It makes you feel proud. You know, it's the training that you've done all this time, and now it's time to put it to use. And to watch it all happen, and then a few hours later be down in combat launching the first wave of aircraft into Afghanistan. And later on, it was just like the Battle of Midway, counting every plane as it came back to make sure we didn't lose any of our aircrew.
Oh, that gave me goosebumps.
And we were lucky. We had airplanes that took damage, but we didn't lose a single one of our air wing throughout 72 straight days of 24-hour combat operation.
Phenomenal. That goes back to leadership training.
I worked for some great leaders. Before I came in the Navy, I was a school teacher, taught special ed. And one of the people I taught with was a man named Bobby Dunlap. He was a Marine captain in World War II. And on Iwo Jima, one of the bloodiest battles as we got closer to Japan, he was leading his company of Marines. They got pinned down, and he went around and outflanked Japanese troops and took out 3 machine gun nests on his own, enabling his Marines to move forward and win the battle. And for that, he was awarded the Medal of Honor. And later on, as I was a lieutenant on my first admiral staff, I got to spend time very regularly with Vice Admiral James B. Stockdale, who was the senior POW in the Hanoi Hilton. And he was awarded the Medal of Honor for almost killing himself in order to disfigure himself enough so that the North Vietnamese could not use him for propaganda. And amazingly, even though those two instances were so far apart, both of them are cousins, and the only cousins to share the honor of having been awarded the Medal of Honor.
What?
And at my 10-year college reunion, I got to have lunch with both of them. It was amazing.
That's one of the coolest stories I've ever heard. I could probably listen to you all day. I'm sure you're full of many more.
I am full of it.
Well, he said it. Well, I know that this relationship, this collaboration is not over, and we have a lot more work to do. Like you said, there's over 630,000 veterans, and 120,000 of them are in the Phoenix Greater Valley. So we definitely have a lot of work to do, and we need your help to do that, to keep this mission going here. We need to stay funded, stay consistent, so that we don't lose the grip that we have in this small community here, where there are 10,000 veterans just right here, 30,000 in Maricopa County. If we're gone, where do they go? You know, to receive this kind of service here, where they can just walk in.
And that's something that the people that watch this need to know, is that outstanding operations like this, that is an incredible safe place for our veterans, and incredible services for our veterans, and incredible pointing to resources. And places like DAV, we all survive on donations and grants. We don't get any government funding.
Yeah.
It's all us going out into the community and working with other organizations and companies and foundations to get them to help support our ability to support all the veterans that we see.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for your tireless efforts out there doing what you're doing, and you're continuing to be of service. It's been an honor, sir. Thank you.
And likewise.
Thank you very much.
You probably don't know this unless you were at our change of command, but Nicole was awarded the Commander's Award for Excellence because many people don't know that this whole operation over at the Mesa Veterans Resource Center was swirling around the top of the toilet bowl when the smart decision was made to bring Nicole on board as the executive director. And she has infused life and energy into this organization and expanded it well beyond what they ever thought it could be in the beginning. So hats off to you, Nicole.
Thank you. Where were you in my chain of command back in the day? Would have loved to have that stellar right on my review. Thank you. It's absolute pleasure and honor to be of service and to be a part of, the growing volunteer base that we have here, and the efforts that we have with our media team over here, the video veteran guys, Happy Jack Media and Death and Night Productions. Thank you guys. They're highlighting veteran voices all over the state. So huge, lots coming up, lots to look forward to. Hopefully we'll get some conversation going in after this, and we hope to see you in the Defender's Den for all of our upcoming events. Follow, like, subscribe, share, so we can reach all the veterans that are in need right now. And of course, if you're struggling, don't forget that the National Veteran Suicide Hotline is available to you at 988, then press option 1. You matter, you're worth it. Come tell us your story. Let's continue to find our purpose, our mission, and, to be of service to each other and hold each other accountable, because tomorrow's a new day and you can do it and you're not alone. We'll see you next time on The Spotlight.